Hi, I'm Captain Larry Bell with Texas Fishing Tips, and this is your weekly fishing report.
Up here, Sundown Bay, we've had lots of fluctuation of our water levels. It's come up, come down, but here recently it has stabilized, and we have started to get more water back in our system consistently. So that's been a good thing. So you're being able to get back in some of these areas that maybe you haven't been able to in the last few weeks just simply because the water levels have been super low. Now, we've had all different kinds of weather anomalies going on. We've had high winds, we've had no winds, we've had cool fronts, we've had just rain, we've had fog, a little bit of everything. So it's really affected the fishing in a lot of different ways. So you really have to be able to adapt to what the day's weather brings you or what the situation comes up to you. You have to be able to adapt to that because it's gonna affect the fishing. That said, all this area back up here in Sundown, this back shoreline, there's been a good amount of bait that's been working some of these areas here. You got the back lake mouths that drop out into this, working around those. The topwater bite has been really good. I'm kind of a little bit of a topwater junkie, and when that topwater bite starts to really turn on, so I really don't throw a whole lot of other things, but just really wanting that topwater blow up. That said, these areas in here, man, there's spectacular opportunities if you get there early enough. Now you don't have to get there before sun up right now, but if you're leaving the ramp by 6:30, 6:45, you get to these locations by 7-ish, 7:30-ish, you're going to be in good shape to get you an early morning bite because, man, the redfish and trout are cruising up and down, especially redfish, cruising up and down this back shoreline. They're working these areas here, man. If you get you get that topwater spook junior, one knocker. Those are two of my favorites right there. You may have whatever you like topwater wise. It's something that's got a wider silver belly on it because that's majority of your bait fish is going to have the same type of belly. But have something that's a little bit different. She dog, he dog, either one of those will be fine too. They got a little bit different pitch in them, so you may be getting some slaps or some blow ups or some swirls. Put on something just a little bit different pitch, and then that may be what you need to get that bite to come and really commit to it and blow up on it and take it. So if that consistently happens with you, if you're not getting it to happen, put the double D on. The double D's been really good as well. It's an ascending bait, so when you're working it and you're pulling it, you can work that thing down. There's a decent amount of grass that's pushing back in up against this back shoreline out in the middles, especially with the water that has come back. You can work that thing down around those grass beds and edges and just let that thing slow rise up, and boy, you get some outstanding blow-ups and hits with that. So those two baits right there have been really good, all back up in here in Sundown. Another bait that's been pretty good as well has been the jerk shrimp from Marker 54. You can get both the hard and soft baits from them. They'll give you lots of good opportunities. If you're a bait person and you're wanting to kind of dabble into the artificial side, that's an easy way to do it because, man, that's a terrific bait. It's easy to use, segmented, so it's got a lot of action, a lot of usage to it. You can do a lot of things with it. You can free line it. You can put it underneath the popping cork and work it that way if that's what you like to do. And if you don't want to just consistently work it, if you got some wind that's pushing the waves and the waves are just kind of breaking there, just the cork itself bobbing will create a movement for that shrimp underneath there, so you really don't have to do anything but just give it a little stroke every once in a while and just to make that cork pop. But that's just another little thing there that you can use if you don't want to use live bait. It's an outstanding bait that they've produced there, and also the mullet run as well. We're starting to see a migration of bait fish starting to slide back into our bait systems here. And water temps are starting to level off, get up there in the upper 60s, low 70s, and it's starting to, the weather's starting to really turn to where we like it, and it's going to really turn these bites on, especially with the amount of bait fish is starting to show back up. Make sure that you work all these area up and down here. Take your time with that topwater action, man. It is so much fun to watch those fish just explode on that. And when you hook up to it, it's a really, really a great pleasure to be able to do that. Remember to incorporate your majors and minors into your fishing day and continue to keep production going, especially if you have a slow bite. So that said, just make sure you pay attention to what your moon phase and where all that's going on right now and locate these fish back in here. Long Reef Bend, all the way up here to Jaybird Point, again, these back lake mouths. Now, see, again, with the amount of water that we've had started coming back, we're starting to get our tides are starting to come back, starting to regularly be where they should be this time of year, barring some type of major front or something that's not in the foreseeable future, unless something just pops up here in the next week or so. This all this water level is going to continue to be, because we've got these southeast breezes starting to push water back in here. So that water level is going to continue to rise. So we're going to have our normal tides here before too long. Of course, we'll have our bull tides here coming probably up later this month, maybe the first part of next month. Kind of have to wait and see. But when that happens, there's going to be lots of water that's going to push in here, so it's going to open up lots of areas for you to be able to fish. Now, with that said, all these little back lake mouths, these guts that's been, thigh deep are now starting to be waist and belly deep. So that's going to be great opportunities for you to get back in those, wade back in those areas, get down the edges of them, throw your plastics in there, throw your down souths in there, throw your mirror lures, whatever you like. Little Johns, they've all been pretty good. What's another thing that's been really good here is what I said in the last video is the report, the topwater, man. The topwater action is starting to really heat up. So if you're a topwater junkie, get whatever topwater bait that you particularly like to throw and start working these areas really well. Man, the redfish are just exploding on them. Trout are taking opportunities at them. And the fishing with those particular baits has been really good. Now, again, the down south, chicken of the sea, magic grass, always in my box, and I'm going to throw those at some point. But until that topwater bait kind of dies off, then I'll start to, I'll continue to throw those, but then I'll transition over to the plastics. Pay attention to what's going on with the moons, because the bites have been kind of finicky. Early morning's been pretty good some days, been average some days, and then we'll get into, especially around the new moon, anticipate it being better than what it has been. But you have to just stick with it and just kind of grind some days. That's kind of been the pattern here. And the mornings have been pretty good, not as good. Afternoons have been they've been more consistent than what the mornings have. So, if you got an opportunity to wait to fish later in the day, then do that, especially around this new moon. Now, we're going to be transitioning. We're on the back end of those 10 days around that new moon, so you're going to be transitioning into the wild card days or transition days as we head to a full moon. So that's when you're going to have to really start kind of varying your box up a little bit as far as sizes, profiles, colors, what's really going on with that. That's really what you want to be able to do, is give it different options, different sizes. The fish are going to be, they're kind of going to be everywhere. So get back in some of these back lakes here. And this is one of the prime locations, is right here. Get that topwater bait, the Spook Junior, She-Dog, He-Dog, whatever you like, and really go to town working over that back lake. Man, there's been some nice redfish that have been cruising in and out of this area here. We haven't had super bad winds. There for a couple of days it was blowing pretty good, but now they've kind of started to stabilize a little bit. So those are always stuff that you're going to have to take in consideration, depending on which way you're going to come into this and how you're going to fish it. I always set that up whenever you're trying to fish a confined area like these back lakes. So that'll really help you out to help you locate those redfish back in there. Continue to work these edges. There's lots of bait. Work all those, find where that bait's working, see if you can see any type of consistent pattern that's going on with it. And then just kind of hunker down and pay attention to your majors and minors and locate your fish. Yeah, over here in Shell Point, Turtle Pen area, there's a little back lake, this far shoreline right here. There's a nice little back lake area there. You'll see a couple of duck blinds that's been there. Of course, all that season's over with, so we don't have to worry about all that kind of stuff anymore. But this whole edge right here, there's some good mixed shell that's in there. There's some mud that's mixed in that's good. That back lake's got a little gut that's in there, and there's been a few redfish that's been hanging in there. Some days are a little bit better than others, but it's worth a shot for you to get back in this area and work it out away from the mouth, work it out in front of the mouth, work it up in the mouth. Now, if you're going to walk up in there when you wade that area, just be careful, because it is soft, but it's very manageable. You're not going to get to a point where it's like sinking up to your knees or anything like that, but you can work it, and you can work it back a little ways, depending on what our tides do, which, again, they have come back, so we've got more water in our system now. So those are areas that these fish typically have not probably been for a while, so it gives them an opportunity to explore new water for them. So if there's bait pushed back in there, it's worth your time and energy to throw some baits back up in this and see if these redfish or trout are hanging back up in these guts. Top water action again, man, it's been spectacular. It's been really good. We're getting lots and lots and lots of follows, blow-ups, takes, explosions, and man, if this continues, this spring is going to be spectacular for top water. So make sure you keep in your wading box, a top water bait of some sort, somehow in there, so you can tie one of those suckers on and you can enjoy yourself. Continue to come on around here and work this back edge along this. Now, this particular area right in through here can get soft on you, and it's got some clump shell that's in there, so make sure you're careful when you're walking through because it can trip you up. But I will say this, if you do try to walk back in the little back lake areas over here, you will sink up to your waist back up in these areas because it is super soft. And that is one thing that you really don't want to contend with because it's sticky mud too, and it can be tough. So if you get back in there, just kind of stay away from it where you can cast to it, but I wouldn't walk up in there too far unless you got your boat with you, and you can obviously you can put your trolling motor down and kind of work your way up into it. But there's been another area that's had some redfish holding in there. And of course this back shoreline that comes up on this big grass flat that's here as you head back toward Copano Creek. All this area here has been good. The little point on this opposite side right here, there's been some nice redfish that's been hanging off that. There's been some scattered trout. We're catching trout. It's in the 14, 15, 16. We get a scattered 17 or 18 every once in a while, but we're cutting those loose. We're not keeping any of those. So just keep that in mind. We're still trying to recover from that freeze from last year, but that's we're headed in the right direction. So just keep that in mind what you do. But there's plenty of redfish that are in the system. Get down this edge right here. Put your plastic on. Put your burner shad on. And just kind of work this edge, this deeper gut. Now just be aware, again, with the fluctuation of our water and everything, that's going to be a little bit different than it was a month and a half ago. You could have probably walked down the middle of it and it not bother you. Now you're not going to be able to do that. So make sure that you work the edges of that. Look for your bait working in there. You'll be able to push this a little further back because you got, just like I say, it's a nice little deep gut. It's a great spot for these trout and redfish to kind of fall off into and kind of hang out and wait for bait to come through there. The down south in both the Twisted Tea has been a magnificent color in all three sizes, the super, the regular, and the burning. That Twisted Tea, the new one that they've come out with, Michael Bossy and them have done a great job with this particular color selection. It is a spectacular color, and it's been very, very productive this spring so far. Another one has been the Supernatural. That's another great bait, especially if you got some clear water situations where you can see down 1.5 foot, 2 foot. Work that Supernatural's got a lot of glitter in it. It's got a lot of flash. And sometimes these fish are just not really wanting to eat. We've had a few high pressures that's been in on us here the last few days. So that's always something to consider when you got a high pressure and there's downsize that bait. You want something just a little bit smaller. Your other flavors as well, the chicken of the sea, magic grass, have all been good. Any of the plastics. The Mirror Lure, Little Johns have been good, especially if you've got some really super dirty water. You've got the little bit of a chartreuse tail that's on there that can help flashing that when that water's really muddy and cut up. That's be a great option to throw. The Provoker also has been good. But right now, with the bait working in here and the water levels of what they are, working these edges and work shorelines, top water has been my go-to here for the last probably 10, 15 days. So it's been really, really productive. And once that tapers off, then we'll go back over to our plastics and start working that and try to locate fish a little bit down deep into the water system. Again, make sure you incorporate your majors and minors into your fishing day and continue to look for your bait working there and you'll locate your fish.
Thanks for watching. I'm Captain Larry Bell.